You know what? I gotta say, I love that little tune. But what is going on? Why does it continue to play? Interesting. Anyway, everybody, welcome to late. Oops, I've got YouTube. I have YouTube up as well. I apologize. It is late night here at Giants Corner, New York Giants Corner at 2T T2T Network. Everyone, this is Joe, your host. It's well after 11 o'clock Wednesday night. I usually do the show at around 8:15 ish Wednesday night, and I had to go to the city for work, so I couldn't do it. But anyway, I am here to talk about our man Saquon and our GM Joe Shane. Collectively, they dropped a nuke on Giants land this week. It is what it is. As Saquon says, it is what it is. And it's no hard feelings, but I'm going to get to that in 1 second. Again, late night here at New York Giants Corner. I'm looking to talk about this. Looking forward to talking about this. Kind of sad, kind of interesting at the same time as well. But before I do that, let me get the bells and whistles out of the way. Please, if you can, hit that like and subscribe button. Give us that 5-star Apple review. It all helps us out a lot. And where you can find the show: Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Podbean, and Spotify. Also, our beautiful website, toiletsandtitles.com, has all of our videos and articles. It has we cover everything to do with football. First of all, which I'm going to get into in a second, we have partnered with at the CFB Nation. It's the College Football Nation. You got to check those guys out. They are a sister network. These guys know college football like nobody else's business. They are fantastic. They cover the college end. When those guys enter the draft, Toilets and Titles takes over. So we cover college football. We cover the football draft. We cover NFL news, teams. We have like 5 team-centric shows now, including what you're watching right now, New York Giants Corner. We cover fantasy football, which is our original bread and butter. And we have our own listener subscriber fantasy league called Frankenstein. We still have a few openings for Frankenstein, which is the most unique fantasy football league you will ever be part of. It is totally fun, great. We are global. We have players from Europe as well. So if you want to join, I know we have a few slots that are open. It's only a $25 entry fee. 1/3 of the purse goes to the winners. It goes to a charity of the winner's choice, and then the other 2/3 basically gets split up amongst the winner of the entire league and some of the other division winners and stuff like that. But Frankenstein is our homebred fantasy football league. It's totally fun. We have a few slots open. If you'd like to join, please reach out to me or at Toilets and Titles if you'd like to join. But again, toiletsandtitles.com is our website. Everything we produce, videos, articles on everything to do with football, it all goes to our website. And again, as I mentioned before, at the CFB Nation, they are our sister network here at T2T Network. They cover college football, and that crew is phenomenal. I like college football, and I always learn so much from these guys. You got to check them out. They've got quite a few. They're pretty much, they've got a few connections in college football, and these guys know their college football. They've got connections, so there's always great news coming out from at the CFB Nation. And I just want to stress that it's at the CFB Nation because there is an imposter out there called CFB Nation. So you want to follow the CFB Nation. And last but not least, well, almost last but not least, patreon.com/toiletsandtitles. If you go there, you can learn how you can further support our network. And I just want to say thank you to our current Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you appreciating us. And last but not least, Gilded. That is our chat. We have our own chat in the Gilded app. We talk all types of football. If there's any advice that you want on fantasy football, come into the chat. We're going to give it to you. You have any sit or start questions during the fantasy season, get in Gilded chat. We are loaded with fantasy football experts. And come on in. You're going to get a variety of answers. And it doesn't hurt, guys. It doesn't hurt. But we have a lot of fun in there. We're probably up to around 160 subscribers in our Gilded chat now. And that's pretty much what we run our Frankenstein League, our Frankenstein Fantasy League through now at this time. So, but reach out to us, Gilded chat. Again, you can reach out to me at JoJ_Clark or you can reach out to at Toilets to Titles, and we will get you into the Gilded Chat. Anyway, let's get to what really counts, and that is the big news. Saquon. I have a few comments. I'm going to get you guys in a second. Let's get the content rolling here. Saquon and Joe Schoen dropped a collective nuke on our beloved Giants land this week, and I don't blame them. It's hairy, it's messy, and it is what it is, as Saquon said. And I love Saquon. The strength's for you. I love you, buddy. I hope you stay on the team long term. It looks like that's probably not going to happen. I do hope you're on the team in 2023 because that guy, he was drafted in 2018, really before the rebuild started. The rebuild really started in 2019. A lot of Giants fans think that the rebuild started in 2018 when we drafted Saquon. That's not true. Saquon was drafted to help out Eli Manning, Odell Beckham Jr. and that 2018 team, which the ownership really wanted to see was the 2018 team when Dave Gettleman took over. Was that going to be a replay of 2017, which is an absolute disaster, and we wound up drafting number 2, and we took Saquon, or did we get back to form and be like 2016, where we were a playoff team, where I think we were 11-5, I believe, that year. So they were looking to see what it was going to be like, and they drafted Saquon to help out the team. We crashed and burned in 2018, not surprisingly, and that's when the rebuild actually started. But the man's been here since since a little before the rebuild, and he's been on mostly crappy Giants teams. We finally had a really good season last year. There's a lot of hope for the future, and I love Saquon. I really do, and I really wanted to see him, be on this team long term. I know with the running back, when you talk about long term, you're probably talking about at most like a 4-year, extension where maybe 3 years max is fully guaranteed. But he unfortunately hit the market, at the wrong time. And I warned you all, for my past few episodes where I talked about Saquon, I warned you all. Everyone else felt like, oh, it's eventually going to get done. And that's what I was hoping for. And that's kind of what common sense would say as well, right? That eventually at the last minute, they're going to, both sides are going to come together, cut the difference. And, and Saquon's going to have an extension for a few years. And it makes sense. But I had a bad feeling. That it goes beyond that. That Saquon, felt like he deserved more, considering that everything he's given to this team, not just on the field, but off the field. And for me as a Giants fan, it does mean a lot. Listen, you can be a really, good guy. People make fun of that, like, oh, what are you going to give a lot of money for being a running back who's a good guy? I'm going to give him a lot of money for being a superstar who does everything right. That's what I'm going to give him money for. Even when I put my general manager's cap on, and I look at it from both ways. I don't blame any player for doing what they feel they need to do to get what they feel they're worth. And sometimes I might not agree what they feel like their worth is, but in Saquon's case, I'm pretty much on board with him. He's a superstar. He really is, and he's been an outstanding New York Giant. Anything you could want from a New York Giants player, Saquon Barkley gives you. And it's not just on the field, but it's off the field too. It's not easy playing for this organization and in this market. And Saquon has passed all those tests in spades easily. He's the dude with who doesn't just get 100 on the test, but gets additional points for all the extra credit. That's Saquon Barkley for you, and he's a high character guy. And I felt like, yeah, I do have to look at this as, from the general manager perspective. What would I do if I'm the general manager of the New York Giants? Am I going to give him some huge contract? Well, define a huge contract. What's a huge contract? If you're talking like 5 years guaranteed, that's a big contract for me. But honestly, like, we don't know the exact numbers out there. If I'm just going to, go over what we've read collectively, what we've heard, what we've read collectively over the past few months, especially over the past few days. It sounds like it would have taken around $22 million guaranteed, or maybe a little more, maybe $1 million or $2 million more guaranteed, and also $1 million or $2 million more per annum annually. And I don't have a problem with that. If you're talking about, say, a 4-year contract, and this is how far I would have gone, I would have been okay with giving him a CMC, that is a Christian McCaffrey like contract. I would have been okay with that. Because if you're talking about a 4-year contract and 3 years of it is basically guaranteed, I don't have a problem because I think the dude actually has a good amount of tread on his tires. He's 26 this year. He'll be 27 next year, and allegedly, supposedly 27 is like that doom year. We can't go beyond age 27 for a running back, and I get you, but him missing his season, a full season, because of the torn ACL, I think actually reduced, actually helped him in terms of his health, his long-term health, and he looked really good last year. And I know he's been staying in phenomenal shape this entire off season. He's been working his ass off, and I see something like that, and I'm willing to invest in that. I don't think like say even like 3 years guaranteed is a big deal. I know it's a running back, but the idea, 3 years guaranteed for running back, I don't think it's a big deal when you're 26 years old. I don't care what other running back contracts are. A lot of other running backs have been, they've been playing 4 or 5 years on the rookie contract. Saquon was injured he missed an entire season because of that torn ACL. I think he's got tread on his tires. I really do. And this guy really, really puts the effort in. He looked great last year. He looks, he's looking great this offseason in terms of how much he's working out, saying that, he knows that even he knows he needs to get more explosive, that he's got more explosiveness in him. And for like, and I'm saying that I'm willing to go 3 years. It's my understanding that this would have been, say, like 2 years guaranteed, fully guaranteed. And I absolutely would have went there. I absolutely would have went there. But I can't blame Joe Schoen either because the RB market is what it is. I do think it's a shame because I don't just see him as a running back, and I'm sure that's Saquon's argument that he's like he's a weapon, he's a superstar who plays out of the running back position. And maybe I'm just playing games with with words here, and maybe Saquon's side is playing games with words if that indeed is an argument. But I actually think it's a fair argument. Maybe people can see it as games with words. I actually think it's a fair argument. If we had as I've said before, if we had like Cincinnati situation where Joe Mixon, he took a pay cut. He's like, oh, I want to be with the champion. Joe Mixon, God bless you. God bless you. But reality is you've got to think about a team that has to think about and worrying about, can they sign T. Higgins? Can they re-sign T. Higgins? They've got to re-sign Jamar Chase. These decisions are coming up, very soon. So a running back is probably, really not in the equation there. So he took the pay cut or whatever of like $6.5 million that he's making. And I like Joe Mixon. I'm not knocking him, but it's a totally different situation. When Saquon makes the point that, that he's an important component to this team, say as opposed to Joe Mixon, he's absolutely right. We're not paying a wide receiver one anytime soon. Not, unless we trade for someone, we're not paying a wide receiver one. So by the time his guaranteed money is over, hopefully we do have a wide receiver one. Maybe it's Jalen Hyatt. Maybe it is Jalen Hyatt. It's just not proven yet. Maybe it's Isaiah Hodgins, which I'm not knocking, and I'm not trying to promote Isaiah Hodgins to a wide receiver one status. I don't expect that. Maybe we make a trade for someone like a Stephon Diggs, which scares the crap out of me because that guy, allegedly, it seems like he's kind of wanting out of his second team already, and that is the Buffalo Bills. But we're not paying a wide receiver one anytime soon. If this guy was a bad apple, I'd move on. I'm not interested in paying bad apples. We gave people talk about injuries or wide, running backs, they're prone to injury, and that's true. But I want to tell you something. I want to point out we gave, a few years ago, Dave Gettleman, and nothing wrong with it at all. Gave OBJ, which I think it was the highest wide receiver contract at the time a few years ago. And OBJ deserved it, based on his talent. And he wanted to be Giant. I believe him. And Giants fans loved him. And the dude was an awesome wide receiver. And he could still be. I think he's going to have a good bounce back year with Baltimore as long as he's healthy. But that's the thing. OBJ was already known to be someone who's prone to injury. You couldn't get away from hamstring injuries with Odell throughout his rookie campaign, throughout his rookie contract. when he got like the biggest wide receiver contract ever in history. I think it was 5 years, $100 million. And that was like a 5 year deal. I'd say with at least 3 years guaranteed, as far as I recall. Nothing wrong with it at all. He was like a top three wide receiver, if not the best wide receiver at the time when he was healthy. But those are decisions you have to make, and I didn't think there was anything wrong with it at all. But point being that this is a dude who already had a history of injuries coming in. This is the type of guy who had the injuries, unlike Saquon, whose injuries have been like a torn ACL or rolled ankle. These aren't like nagging injuries. These are just injuries that happen, and then he recovered and he plays. This isn't a dude who's had like Odell and many other Giants over the past 10 years, these nagging friggin' injuries, hamstring issue. And of course, those things, or glute, and I make fun, I hammer on these issues all the time because it's true. These are the nagging injuries that players have, like Odell. It's just one example, Odell, where, you're all of a sudden, your hammy is tight, and maybe you get pulled out of a game. And then you know what? And then you got to watch this dude's hamstring for like the next like 5 or 6 weeks, if not the regular season. Is it acting up? Is it pulling? Did he pull it in practice? You didn't get that crap with Saquon. You didn't get that crap with Saquon at all. And I really think, you know what? If it's just 2 years, if it's 2 years guaranteed, I think Joe Schoen should have given it to him. I still think they should give it to him. I really do. I really do. And Saquon, I saw an interview today. I didn't see the whole interview today, but I saw part of it, maybe like 3 minutes. So I thought it was really interesting and really cool. It was just Saquon opening up, and I hope it was kind of a message to the front office and ownership. You know, um, Basically him talking about like he never thought that he could never see himself in the past, sitting out, but it's gotten to the point where like, damn, he said like, damn, I may actually have to sit out. It's just come to that point. And it's not just about empathy. It's like, dude, I think this guy's worth it. I think this guy is worth the extra, million or two, if that's what it was. If it was only a million or two guaranteed and a million or two uh, you know, per season for the next few years, I don't have a problem with it, man. Again, you show me Jamar Chase and T. Higgins that we have to worry about, signing for, coming up for contracts. That's something else. Obviously that would factor into the equation. We're not doing that. Even if Jalen Highland, I love Jalen Highland. I'm not knocking him. We just don't know what this dude's going to be. Even if he winds up being a fantastic wide receiver, can't expect that his rookie year. Hopefully we get some good usage out of him, but you can't expect, wide receiver one out of Jalen Hyatt this year. So if anything, if he actually does develop into wide receiver one, we're probably not going to know that, until next season, which means that it's going to be like, you probably at that point you'd be halfway through Saquon's guaranteed contract mostly. So I just think it's an unnecessary mess, and I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not blaming anyone. Joe Schoen, the general manager, has to I like everything he's done. I really like everything Joe Schoen has done so far. God bless him. God bless him. He's put together, I think, a really seemingly impressive front office. The coaching staff, starting with Brian Dable, obviously, that they put together is phenomenal. I think the moves he's made in the past two drafts and the past two free agencies have been wonderful. Have been wonderful. I'm not worried about. I don't think the Saquon contract situation is gonna be negative in the uh, in the Giants locker room. I really don't. I think they're professionals in there. They understand that business is business. You cannot look at Joe Schoen and say that, he's screwed over Saquon. He's screwed over their guy, their boy, their man. You can't say that. He took care of Daniel Jones. He took care of Dexter Lawrence. He tried to retain Julian Love, the safety, this past offseason. And, in during the break last season, they offered an extension to Julian Love. I think reportedly worth around $8 million per year. And Julian Love and his agents said no. They rejected it. They went to free agent, I guess, thinking they were going to get more. Two positions this offseason that really got screwed this free agency were running back and safety. I love the safety position. And Julian Love, Wound up getting an offer from the best offer he got was from Seattle at like $6 million a year, or 6.5. I think it was $6 million a year. I think the Giants have either offered 8 or 6.5 in the offseason. Yeah, not in the offseason, in last season, like around November of last season. They offered more. And but when Julian Love, his agent, came back to the Giants saying, "Hey, this is what Seattle offered us. They offered us, $6 million a year." Joe Schoen said he's basically said it's too late. We spent the money. The money we allocated that we would have had allocated to Julian Love is gone. They spent it on other needs, and I get it. Whether it's Bobby Okereke linebacker, which we needed big time, which we needed Paris Campbell, which is cool. We needed speed and depth at the wide receiver position. It's cool. I love Julian Love. I think our defense may miss him a lot more than Giants fans realize. He was a really good safety, really, really good safety, and a good locker room guy as well. And he wasn't prone to injury too. So Seattle, you got a damn good player. Good for you. But anyway, I don't blame Joe Schoen. I don't think he did anything wrong, but he's taken care of Giants players this offseason. And he tried to take care of both Saquon and Julian Love, get them under contract, basically in the middle of last season. So he is trying to retain the Giants players who've proven themselves. He is. So I'm not mad at anyone. I get it. Like Saquon says, it is what it is. It just sucks. It just sucks. Because this team, listen, people want to say that, hey, listen, Giants went to the playoffs last year on the back of Saquon. We went 9-7-1 on the back of Saquon last year. Hey, listen, Saquon's an important component. He's a great player. That's why I want him re-signed. That's why the Giants did try to re-sign him. They didn't just say, here, you're getting the tag and that's it. They tried to give him an extension. They were only willing to go so far. So the Giants recognize, he's an important player on this team, and that he's been a great Giant, a great citizen for this organization and this fan base. But people who want to say Giants, made the playoffs last year because of Saquon. Well, then you know what? How about when the Giants they had 4 wins his rookie year, and like 4 wins like the following year after that. Do you assign that to Saquon? If you're going to give 9-7-1 in a playoff appearance and a playoff win to Saquon, are you going to give that? Are you going to give the crappy seasons, that he was healthy, especially his rookie season when he had a phenomenal rookie season? Are you going to give that to Saquon? I think the answer is more than just one player. Okay, it's more than one player. Saquon played on really, really bad Giants teams. Obviously, he's not the reason why they lost games, but he played on really, really bad Giants teams. He was on a transition team for quite a few years, a team that was on a rebuild for quite a few years. And I really wanted to see him be on the Giants as we continue to succeed, because I do think we're going to continue to succeed even without him. Remember Tiki Barber. Tiki Barber to this day is the best Giants running back. I'll be 52 in a few days. Tiki Barber is the best Giants running back I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes, even better than Saquon. The last 3 years of Tiki Barber's career, 2004, 2005, 2006, it coincided with Tom Coughlin's last 3 years. Tiki Barber, his main thing before that was that he had fumbleitis. He was known to fumble the ball, but he did everything else well. When Tom Coughlin came on board, and he stressed with Tiki the importance of maintaining that ball, not fumbling, and basically teaching him, how to hold the ball when he's running. And that is, keep it high and tight. It's as simple as that. Tiki's career got even better. He became the best in 2004, 2005, 2006. I still think, and I don't care what any numbers say, Tiki Barber was the best running back in the NFL those 3 years. That guy could do anything. He did everything perfectly. He ran the ball exceptionally. He caught the ball out of the backfield exceptionally, and his blocking and pass protection was exceptional. He did everything. Tiki Barber, and yet when he When he left when he retired in between the 2006 and 2007 season, what did we do? We go to the Super Bowl and upset the 18-0, trying to be the 19-0 New England Patriots without Tiki Barber. Yes, we had really good players in Plaxico Burress, Monty Toomer, rookie Steve Smith out of UCLA, Jeremy Shockey, who got injured, but we had a rookie backup in Kevin Boss. But we had a really good running back in Brandon Jacobs and the Ahmad Bradshaw out of the 7th round, who we got that. He was a rookie and wound up being a key contributor at the end of the season and in the playoffs. But Brandon Jacobs was the man. He was the starting running back that year. And I don't know. I'm gonna talk about that right now. I don't know if we have about Brandon Jacobs. I was already excited about Brandon Jacobs going into the 2007 season, but he'd never been the starter before. We drafted him in 2005, so we got to get a taste of him in 2005 and 2006, but he had never been the starter. But I always liked what I saw. But I like what we have in a running back committee as of right now, to be honest with you. I'm not projecting great things. I don't know what to predict. I got to see these guys in preseason. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Hopefully they all make it out of the preseason without injury. That would be wonderful. But I'm going to start off with Gary Brightwell. All right, I'm going to start with Gary Brightwell, who's been on the team the longest at this point. He was drafted 2 seasons ago. He was supposed to be, special teams contributor. He hasn't really contributed all that much. I think he's a better gunner than he is a returner, to be honest with you. But he is, he is pretty decent on special teams. But when this guy's and he's had very limited opportunities. And I don't think Gary Brightwell, I'm starting off with this is his tenure on the Giants. He's been on the team the longest. This will be the 3rd season if he even makes the roster. This will be his 3rd season. But the limited times that he's had the ball, I like Gary Brightwell a lot. He reminds me of Wayne Gallman. He's not going to be Saquon Barkley. He's not going to be an explosive dude who's going to, can take it to the house in any given play. That's not him. Really, neither was Brandon Jacobs and neither was Ahmad Bradshaw. To be honest with you, those guys thrived. Jacobs and Bradshaw thrived behind early on in the career when they had a really good offensive line who could both pass protect and was excellent at run blocking in like 2007, 2008. Those guys thrive behind an excellent offensive line. And the key thing is, can the offensive line take a big jump? We know that Saquon can produce, for the most part, produce very, very well, exceptionally well, even with the crappy offensive line. I'm so dying to see him behind a really good offensive line. And I think this OL is going to take a jump this year. It's not going to be top 5, but I think it's going to go from being like number 29 or 30, whatever it is, to being pretty mediocre, maybe like 16. I think that it really has a shot to be a pretty solid offensive line this year. But my point being that, say with the running backs, I'm just leading up with Gary Brightwell only because he's the longest tenured running back on the team behind Saquon. The limited opportunities Gary Brightwell has gotten, I actually like what I've seen. He reminds me of Wayne Gallman, kind of like a one-cut, hit the hole really hard type of guy. He came out of, it was either University of Arizona or Arizona State University. I think it was U of A. I think it was U of A few years ago. And the limited opportunities, again, that I saw with Gary Brightwell, do I think he's going to be a bell cow? No. I don't think any of these guys are this year, except for maybe Eric Gray, who I'll get to in a little bit. Gary Brightwell, I like the limited opportunity. I like what I've seen in limited opportunities. Again, basically one cut, hit the hole hard, no fooling around, no spending time behind the line. One cut, hit the hole, bam, and you just let things happen. I like that about the guy. And so, but again, it's been limited opportunities, but I like what I've seen from him. Now, let's talk about Eric Gray. Eric Gray is probably the guy who's most likely to draft him in the 5th round this year. Really nice draft pick. I liked it a lot. This is a guy who had an exceptional senior campaign at Oklahoma last year. All right, so in 12 games, he had 213 attempts rushing, 1,366 yards rushing for an average of 6.4 yards per rush. He had 11 rushing touchdowns. And this is on Oklahoma, who, yes, Oklahoma is not Georgia. They're not Alabama, but they are one of the better NCAA teams. He also had 33 receptions for 229 yards. No receiving touchdowns, but whatever. He had 229 yards in the receiving game. Eric Gray is known to be a complete running back coming out of college. He is a obviously someone he's not Saquon. He's not going to be dancing, moving all over the place. He's not. He doesn't have that top end speed where if he gets through the line, he can basically take it to the house and then he can play like Saquon. That's not him. But he is really good. One cut, hit the hole hard running back who is known to be very hard to take down on the first tackle attempt. He was one of the best running backs last year in college at breaking through his first tackle. So I am really high on Eric Gray. I like him a lot. And I think that if it came down to it, he will be out of the gate. If Saquon doesn't show up week one, I think Eric Gray is going to be the RB1 on this team. And I am excited about it. Let's move on to Matt Breida, who I'm not going to spend too much time on. I don't think Matt Breida's role on this team, if Saquon were to sit, and this is my scenario, if Saquon were to sit out the entire season, or at least until November when he has to sign, I don't think it's going to be that. I think Saquon is either he's going to show up, a little before week one, or I have a feeling he's not going to show up at all. He's going to sit out the season, stay in shape, and next year, I'm sure he and the Giants will part ways. I understand that people say, "Oh, well, the Giants could just tag him again next year if he sits out this entire season." They can, they won't. They will move on. They're not going to do that to the dude. And I'm telling you right now, if he sits out the entire season, the Giants are not going to tag him again next year. They're going to move on. They'll let him. They'll let him go. So I think he's either going to play week one or he's not going to play at all. And I'm telling you right now, I've been right on both the Daniel Jones and the Saquon situations all along. All along. I was right with Saquon. I had a feeling Daniel Jones was going to get that $40 million a year. And I also that there were reports all along that the contract was going to probably start with a four. And when they reportedly, Daniel Jones's camp was asking for $40 million, and the tag for him was 32 million. Lo and behold, what's in the middle? $40 million, and that's what he got. And I had a feeling with Saquon, this was not just normal business as usual. That he felt that he was worth a lot more to the Giants than just what you were seeing in the running back market. And I was right. That's how he feels. Whether you agree with it or not, whether I agree with it or not, it doesn't matter. I had a feeling that's how he saw it, and I had a feeling he wasn't. They had to come to an agreement that made him happy. And I had a feeling it wasn't going to happen. I had a feeling Joe Schoen was going to. He already offered the contract that was bigger than any other running back was getting this offseason. I have to say I was disappointed when I heard that. It sounded like allegedly they weren't that far apart. I was disappointed that they couldn't find common ground, or even if Joe Schoen just couldn't just meet his demands at that point. I was sad about that. I should say not upset. I wasn't mad at Joe Schoen. I get it, but he had to have a ceiling. You have to have your ceiling as a GM and not go beyond it, regardless. It's just a shame. But my point being with this is that I have a feeling. I'm not sure yet, but if he doesn't sign the tag, or even better, the extension, but if he doesn't sign something by the Dallas Cowboys game, I have a feeling he's sitting out the season. And again, just like I said, yes, I realize the Giants it's within their right to tag him again next year if he sits out the entire season. That's not going to happen. I'm telling you right now, they're not going to do that to him. It would be really bad blood all the way around. Really, really bad blood out all the way around. And then I think you'd see a problem in the locker room. Really wouldn't be cool to do that. But anyway, so if he doesn't sign, if he doesn't show up again, I think I like Gary Brightwell as an option, getting more snaps, not as the RB1. I don't necessarily see that getting more snaps this year. I'm comfortable with what I've seen with him, in his brief career so far, if he makes it out of training camp. Matt Breida, I don't think Matt Breida's role is really going to change much. He is what he is, what he's always been, and that is like a change of pace back. He's really known for like He'll get a few handoffs. He's really known to do most of his damage, in the receiving game. So I don't think his role is really going to change all that much. He's also another running back with a history of injury. So you want to be careful how often you use Matt Breida. You want to be careful about that. And I spoke about Eric Gray, who I think will be, it's, pretty common sense, but we don't know for a fact, but pretty common sense. Eric Gray will be, the RB1, I think, going into the season, assuming Saquon doesn't sign or show up. But I'm kind of cool with that. I like that. I like Eric Gray a lot. Yes, I really do. So I am really high on the dude. You know, whether he can actually be like a bell cow running back, we'll see. But listen, we got Brian Dable too, and Mike Kafka, and I know they were very excited to have Waller, and Saquon, and Hyatt, and Campbell, and Isaiah Hodgins, Gary Slayton all on the field at the same time, especially Saquon and Waller. Obviously, those are the two players this offense was going to run through. But I think they're gonna make some really nice adjustments. I think some of these running backs are gonna play better than you think, especially with the offensive line playing better than it has in quite a long time. And I'm saying that right now. I really believe this offensive line is gonna be a lot better. It's not gonna be elite. It's kind of not gonna be the Eagles. It's not gonna be the Cowboys from from like 3 years ago. It's not gonna be some great offensive line, but I also don't think it's gonna be number 29 or 30 or 32 either. I think they are going to take a big jump this year. I'm very excited about the offensive line to at least mediocrity. All right. And that's the key thing. That's the key thing is getting that offensive line better, significantly better. Let's get them to rank number 16. Can we do that? Can we do that? That will help out a lot. And last but not least, Deshaun Corbin. Deshaun Corbin, who was signed out of Florida State 2 seasons ago. So not this season, but he was an undrafted free agent after the 2022 draft out of Florida State. And this is another guy who is known to be an all-around running back, a guy who can not just run the ball effectively, he runs hard. He ran hard in college. He played at both FSU and then transferred. I'm sorry, I've got his. Hang on one second. Deshaun Corbin, because I've been interested in this guy for quite a while, to be honest with you. He was on the practice squad last year. Where are his numbers? All right, so he was originally Texas A&M in 2018, 2019. And then he spent 2 seasons at Florida State. And in 2021, out of Florida State, he played 12 games, 143 attempts for 887 yards. A lot of like bell cow running backs that get 200 plus rushing attempts in college, and they'll put, a good one will put up well over 1,000 yards. Deshaun Corbin played 12 games, 143 attempts, 143. He put up 887 yards rushing. That's a 6.2 average with 7 touchdowns. He also had 144 yards receiving and a receiving touchdown as well. He's known to be a good blocker. He's known to be a good blocker in the passing game. So you can put him out there for, third down, protect the quarterback if it winds up being a passive play. You can do that. So my point being is that I like our options. Would I like to be staring at, say like a Zach Charbonnet, in the second round, a guy who's could possibly actually legitimately take over as the RB1 over Saquon? Yeah, I would like that. But the key thing is the offensive line. Let's pretend Saquon doesn't show up this season. If that offensive line, and I think it already has the talent to be, it's raw, but I think it's got the talent, a lot of talent to be excellent in the running game. I'm not worried about the offensive line's running game prowess, to be honest with you. I think there's a shitload of talent on that offensive line. It is, it's pass protection. What will they do? And I do think they'll be better. Running game, I think this offensive line has got the potential to be kind of beastly, to be honest with you. And that's the key thing. But so, the key thing is the offensive line. And if the offensive line improves a lot, and if they live up to their potential, which I think they could easily do in the running game, I think it can be pretty devastating even without Saquon. I mean, the nature of the offense is going to change somewhat because Saquon offers you so much in the receiving game, just as one player. You don't have to alternate between Brightwell, Sean Corbin, Eric Gray, Breda, Matt Breda is known mostly as a, to do his damage more as like, in the receiving game. Saquon, you could leave him out there all 3 downs, and he was going to do well. His weakness was pass protection, but this past year he was a lot better. He wasn't great, he wasn't Tiki Barber in his prime, but Saquon was wonderful. Not wonderful. He was a lot better last year. He was adequate in pass protection. He was adequate. A lot of room for improvement. But knowing Saquon, this offseason he probably improve on that even more. But I think the key thing for me is if this offensive line improves the way I think it will, if God bless, knock on wood, if these guys can improve, stay healthy, I feel pretty good about this running game. I would love to have seen Waller and Saquon out there, at the same time. We'll see, guys. It could still happen. But I don't know. I think Saquon is really, really hurt about it. So, anyway, guys, it's time to. All right, let's check out the comments here. I am watching you. Saquon is about to follow my footsteps and say goodbye, Giants. Well, I am watching you. It's possible. Chris's videos. What sounds better, Le'Veon Barkley or Saquon Bell? Chris's videos. For a young man, you are pretty smart. Joe, what happened to the hat? You know what, Chris? I'm sorry that I'm just seeing these comments right now. I'm addressing the comments right now, but I didn't want to break up my flow. You know what? I got home late, Chris, and I just didn't feel like throwing on the hat. So I think the hat was in the laundry. It's dry. I just didn't feel like putting it on. If you haven't noticed, I'm not wearing my glasses either. Let's see. Carlos Davia. Carlos, if you're still around, I apologize. I'm getting your comments so late. I'm still drafting SFB. Mas started Cube, Saquon, Ramondre. Should I reach and get Breda Fournette? Carlos, it all depends what round you're talking about. Carlos is drafting Scott Fishbowl. That's SFB. And you know what? I'm not in Scott Fishbowl. Quite a few of the other guys here at Toilets and Titles, Carlos, are in Scott Fishbowl. I don't know the format. And the key thing, probably the most important thing to drafting fantasy football is knowing the league and knowing the league rules. And I'm one of the guys here at Toilets and Titles who's not in SFB, but plenty of the other guys are. So I would, I would hop into one of the other live videos, this upcoming week, and get that question in there. Or you can reach out to @Toilets to Titles on Twitter, or Carlos, you can reach out to me or Toilets to Titles and seek to get into our Gilded chat if you're not in there already. And we can answer these questions, but I can't give you advice on SFB. I don't know the league. I don't know the league rules. I've only heard of it, but I'm not in it. Rich Gonzalez, Frito Bandito. What's up, Rich? Rich says he drafted Gray in the last round in Scott Fishbowl 13. I think that sounds like a great move. I love it. I love it. Boomer. I am a boomer. He's getting this Waller. Rich Gonzalez is our otherwise known as Frito Bandito. He's our in-house Raiders fan here at Toilets and Titles, and I don't blame him. Waller seems like I'm really happy we got him. It was low risk, high reward. I know Waller. Again, Rich is our in-house Raiders fan, and Waller seems like a real quality dude. And the key thing is, if he can stay healthy, he could wind up being like our wide receiver one. I'd love to have a Jamar Chase. That's not on the menu though. But he could basically be, if he's healthy, he is going to lead this team in receptions. I'd be shocked if he didn't. They've got big plans for him. They traded for him for a reason. Again, they gave away like a 3rd round pick and a 5th or 6th round pick. I was cool with that because they needed a player like him with that type of potential, which he already proved he could do. Darren Waller. So I was really psyched. And listen, if he stays healthy, I've got great expectations for Darren Waller. But I get you, Rich, man. Hey, listen, you guys I don't blame the front office for moving on as well, too. Waller had obviously had his injuries over the past 2 years, and I don't blame them for moving on. But anyway, guys, it is time to wrap up. Man, I've been going 45 minutes, so I thought this was gonna be like a 25-minute video, but you know what? I like this after hours. I gotta say, I feel a little more relaxed, a little less rushed. If you can, hear the Twitter handles from me, my compadres here at Toilets of Titles. If you could please give us a follow, I'd greatly appreciate it. And another friendly reminder, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell, and give us that 5-star Apple review. We greatly appreciate it. We're up to like 1,400 subscribers almost, I believe, on YouTube. And everything helps us out. If you could please, when you watch a video, hit the like button. If you could subscribe to Toilets and Titles, we greatly appreciate it. And if you have 30 seconds to spare, give us a 5-star Apple review. All those things really help us grow the network. We really appreciate it. But anyway, guys, it's Wednesday night. It's almost going to be Thursday morning. It's 11:56. This is Joe Knows. I'm out of here. I'm signing out. Everyone, thank you for joining me tonight. I really greatly appreciate it. And I will catch you soon. Take care, everybody.